I'd like to say I'm not a violent man.
When most people think about gaming, they usually imagine shooters or battle royale games. But gaming is such a massive medium that no single genre can represent it. Some games tell emotional stories that stay in your mind for years. Some give you complete freedom to explore and create. Some challenge your skill and patience. And some make you feel things that movies honestly can't. And that's exactly why this list is special. Every game in this video offers a completely different experience. Not just in story or visuals, but in gameplay itself. The mechanics, the pacing, the world design, the way you interact with the game. Almost everything changes from one title to another. One game might make you think carefully before every move, while another lets you peacefully explore a beautiful world at your own pace. Some games reward creativity, some reward patience, and some simply pull you into their world so deeply that you forget time completely. So if you've mostly experienced competitive mobile games till now, this series is basically your gateway into the wider world of gaming. Welcome to the Gaming Bucket List. Let's start the video.
They'll probably hang you, buddy.
Released in 2018 by Rockstar Games, Red Dead Redemption 2 is still considered one of the most detailed open-world games ever made. And honestly, calling it just a game almost feels wrong. This feels more like living another life for a few weeks. You play as Arthur Morgan, a member of the Vandalian gang during the final days of the Wild West era. Now what makes this game special is not only the story, but how alive the world feels. NPCs have daily routines. Your horse slowly bonds with you over time. Weather changes naturally. If you spend too much time in snow, Arthur reacts to the cold. Even your weapons get dirty and need cleaning. The amount of detail in this game is honestly ridiculous. And because of that, players become deeply attached to Arthur Morgan as a character. A lot of gamers still talk about him even years later. The game also gives players incredible freedom. You can hunt animals, rob trains, play poker, go fishing, explore mountains, or simply ride your horse while listening to the soundtrack. And visually, this game still looks better than the many modern titles today. Rockstar spent years building this world, and you can genuinely feel the passion behind it. This is one of those rare games where the journey matters more than the ending. Let's talk about our second game in the list, Portal 2. Released in 2011 by Valve Corporation, Portal 2 is one of the smartest and most creative puzzle games ever made. The entire game is built around a very simple idea. You create two portals and use them to move around the environment and solve puzzles. But the genius part is how the game keeps expanding that mechanics in new ways. At first, the puzzles feel simple. Then suddenly you start using momentum, timing, lasers, gravity, moving platforms, and different types of gels that change movement physics. And somehow the game never feels repetitive. That's because the level design is brilliant. Portal 2 constantly teaches players new mechanics naturally without overwhelming them. And when you finally solve a difficult puzzle, you genuinely feel smart. The writing is also legendary. The sarcastic humor, the robot dialogue, the AI character GLaDOS become iconic in gaming culture. Even people who never played the game know some of its famous lines. The game also has a co-op mode where two players solve puzzles together using 4 portals instead of 2, which becomes absolute chaos in the best possible way. Even after all these years, many players still consider Portal 2 one of the best designed games ever created. Now, another open world game to discuss about.
You a witcher? That monster slayer they's talking about in the village?
Released in 2015 by CD Projekt, The Witcher 3 became one of the most respected RPGs ever made. You play as Geralt of Rivia, a professional monster hunter searching for his adopted daughter in a world destroyed by war and fear. Now what made this game stand out was the writing quality. Even side quests felt meaningful. In most open world games, side missions are usually simple tasks. But in Witcher 3, even a small mission could turn emotional, disturbing, or completely unexpected. The world itself feels dark and believable. Villages feel poor and desperate. People fear monsters. And your choice can completely change outcomes later in the story. Gameplay-wise, combat becomes much deeper once you understand the mechanics. Different monsters have different weaknesses. You prepare using oils, potions, magic signs, traps, and special bombs before fights. so monster hunting feels strategic instead of random combat. The game also received two massive expansions, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, and honestly, many people consider them better than full games released today. Players become deeply attached to Geralt and the world because it feels mature and human instead of overly heroic. This is the kind of RPG where exploration itself becomes addictive. Released back in 2005 by Capcom, Resident Evil 4 completely changed the survival horror genre. And even after almost 2 decades, the gameplay still feels incredibly fun. You play as Leon Kennedy, who is sent on a mission to rescue the president's daughter from a dangerous village in Europe. Now, what made this game revolutionary at the time was the over-the-shoulder camera system. A lot of modern third-person shooters actually took inspiration from this game. The pacing is also one of the best things about it. The game constantly changes situations before things become repetitive. One moment you're fighting villagers inside tiny houses, and the next moment you're escaping giant monsters or exploring creepy castles. The inventory system also become iconic. Managing your weapons and healing items inside the suitcase become weirdly addictive for the players. And unlike modern horror games that depend heavily on jump scares, Resident Evil 4 creates tension through gameplay itself. Ammo is limited, enemies surround you aggressively, and you constantly feel pressure during fights. The game became so legendary that Capcom released a full remake in 2023 with modern graphics and improved gameplay. And honestly, both versions are worth experiencing. That's how timeless this game is.
Gonna be bright.
Can you tell me where Berto's Beach House is?
That house right there, with the yellow stairs.
Released in 2013 by Rockstar Games, GTA 5 became one of the biggest entertainment products ever created. Not just in gaming, in entertainment overall. The game takes place in Los Santos, a huge open world inspired by Los Angeles. And even after all these years, this city still feels alive. Traffic reacts naturally, NPCs behave differently depending on the location, and random events happen constantly while exploring. One of the smartest things Rockstar did was introducing 3 playable characters. Michael, Franklin, and Trevor all have different personalities and lifestyles, and switching between them during missions makes the story feel cinematic and dynamic. Trevor especially became one of the most memorable gaming characters ever because of how completely unpredictable he is. Gameplay variety is another huge reason why players love GTA 5. You can do robberies, races, flying missions, shooting missions, underwater explorations, or simply drive around listening to the music. And then there's GTA Online, which kept the game alive for years with multiplayer content and updates. Even today, millions of people still play this game regularly. That kind of long-term popularity is honestly rare. Now let's talk about another game that's called Journey. Released in 2012 by that game company, Journey is one of the most unique gaming experiences ever created. And what makes it special is how simple it is. You don't have complicated combat systems. There are almost no words or dialogue. You simply travel across a desert toward a distant mountain. But somehow the game creates emotions without saying much at all. The music changes dynamically while you play, making every moment feel peaceful and emotional. Movement also feels incredibly smooth. Sliding through sand dunes almost feels relaxing. And then there's the multiplayer system. Sometimes another random player joins your world silently. There's no username, no voice chat, no toxicity. You simply travel together. And strangely, players become emotionally attached to these silent moments. That's why Journey became so respected in gaming. It proved that games don't always need explosions, violence, or giant open worlds to leave a strong emotional impact. Sometimes simplicity works better. Released in 2011 by From Software, Dark Souls became one of the most influential games ever made. And yes, the game is difficult. But difficulty alone is not why people love it so much. The real reason is the satisfaction of overcoming challenges. At first, even basic enemies feel dangerous. Boss fights feel impossible. And the game doesn't explain everything clearly like modern games do. But slowly players start learning enemy patterns, timing, stamina management, dodging and positioning. And once the mechanics finally click, the game becomes incredibly rewarding. The world design is also genius. Different locations connect together in smart ways, and unlocking shortcuts feels extremely satisfying. The atmosphere is another major reason why players become attached to the game. The world feels lonely, mysterious, and dangerous. And the lore is hidden in item descriptions and environmental details instead of long cutscenes. Dark Souls became so influential that it created an entire genre now known as the Souls-like games. Even games today still take inspiration from it. Now let's talk about a sci-fi game.
Jesus.
I understand you're upset. Perhaps I didn't assess the
Fuck
situation.
you and your fucking assessment.
Released in 2018 by Quantic Dream, Detroit Become Human feels like a playable sci-fi movie where your choices actually matter. The game is actually a masterpiece. It takes place in a future where androids live alongside humans, and throughout the story you control multiple characters whose decisions completely change the direction of the game. Now many games claim that choices matter, but Detroit actually commits to it. Characters can survive or die permanently. Entire story paths can change, and some scenes may never even happen depending on your decisions. That makes every choice feel stressful and important. The game also looks incredibly cinematic. Facial animations, lighting, music, and camera work all feel like a high-budget film. And because of the story focuses heavily on emotions, freedom, and morality, players become deeply attached to the characters. A lot of people replay the game multiple times just to see different endings and outcomes. This is one of the best examples of interactive storytelling in gaming.
Have androids become a threat to our security?
Released officially in 2011 by Mojang Studios, Minecraft became one of the biggest and most important games ever made. And the crazy part is that the graphics are intentionally simple. Everything looks blocky and basic, but that simplicity gives players complete creative freedom. You can build small houses, giant castles, entire cities, or even working computers inside the game. The survival mechanics are also incredibly addictive. You collect resources, craft tools, mine underground, fight enemies, and slowly upgrade your equipment. And because the world is randomly generated, every adventure feels different. Some players enjoy survival mode, some focus completely on building and creativity, and others play multiplayer servers with custom game modes. Minecraft also became hugely popular on YouTube because the game creates endless possibilities for content. Even after so many years, millions of players still return to it regularly. That kind of longevity is honestly incredible.
Truth. I'm a god, boy.
When Santa Monica Studio released God of War in 2018, a lot of people expected another action game focused only on violence and big boss fights. But the game surprised everyone. Yes, the combat is amazing. The Leviathan X is still one of the most satisfying weapons in gaming. Throwing it at enemies and calling it back feels incredible every single time. But what truly made players connect emotionally with this game was the relationship between Kratos and his son Atreus. Older God of War games showed Kratos as an angry and violent character, but this game showed a much more emotional and human side of him. And because of that, longtime fans became deeply attached to the story. The game also uses a single-shot camera style, meaning the camera almost never cuts during gameplay or cutscenes. So the entire adventure feels smooth and immersive, almost like one continuous journey. The world design is also fantastic. Instead of one giant empty map, the game uses interconnected areas filled with puzzles, hidden bosses, side quests, and exploration. And visually, this game was absolutely stunning when it's released. Even today, it still looks incredible. The success of this game was so massive that it completely revived the franchise and later received a sequel called God of War Ragnarok. For many players, this was the game that proved video games can deliver movie-level storytelling while still having amazing gameplay. And honestly, this is just scratching the surface. Gaming has so many incredible experiences that many players still haven't discovered yet. So if you enjoyed the first episode of the Gaming Bucket List, tell me what type of games should be in the next part. And if there's someone in your friend group who only plays Battle Royale games, send this video to them. Maybe this becomes the start of their gaming journey.